this is a beginning point. It's the beginning of the rest of my life. I got the meaning, and I got to write it down, because I don't want to forget it. Just win, baby.
Welcome back to the Gold Jacket Podcast, proudly sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog has it all: daily, weekly, and season-long best ball tournaments that are literally happening 365 days a year. Plus, you can play their pick and prop games, get 5 picks right, and you can win 20 times your money. Head on over to underdogfantasy.com, use promo code TNFF, and you will get a 100% deposit match up to $100 on your first deposit. I'm your host, Gymnastic. Probably haven't heard me in a little while. I don't know how I'm going to figure that out or follow that up, that beautiful show from last week from Coach Craig and Connor Donald. But you got me again this week. You can find me at Twitter at GoldJacketQBs. I am joined when I am here by the other host of this show, Connor Donald. You can be found at Twitter at Connor10. That's the T, the E, the N, not the 1 and the 0. We are proud members of the True North Fantasy Football Network. Make sure to check out the entire network on Twitter at True North FFB. YouTube, if you're watching right now, thank you. That's the TNFF Network. And on the internet, it's TrueNorthFFB.com, where you can find articles, rankings, podcasts, streams, so much more that you don't want me to talk about it anymore. So tonight we continue 8 weeks of madness into each division, talking each team in their fantasy relevant positions. Of course, I'm back to this week because it's presenting gold and fool's gold in the best division, the AFC Best, the AFC West. There's a lot of doubters there on the reigning champs of this division. So, Connor, man, how's it going?
It's going, man. It's good to have you back. As great as it was to have Craig along. And I mean, it's always tough to top a Coach Craig show because he brings the most random names, the most random information, and everything in between to the show. So we went on for 90 minutes last week, and we barely fit the tight ends in. As always, we barely fit.
Like, Buddy played junior high at fucking Alabaster.
Yeah,
like ran a 4.3, and you're like, "What the fuck?"
but we're back, and you know what? At least you can say you're the AFC best because I mean, being crowned the NFC least and enjoying that title with the Philadelphia Eagles is not necessarily great. So, yeah, but it's good to have you back, man. And let's dive right into it, of course, as always. And I did this for you. I kicked it off with the Kansas City Chiefs at the quarterback position because it just had to be done. Because when I checked in the latest Dynasty ADP on DLF, Patrick Mahomes is no longer QB1 or 2. And it absolutely struck me. I said, do people think Tyreek Hill made Patrick Mahomes? Is this really the mentality we're going with right now? Now, granted, the ADPs were like 2.25 and 2.25. They're pretty much tied. It was probably the third or fourth decimal point that was different in this ADP. But the fact that you can put him at 3 behind Justin Herbert, I would take Mahomes over Herbert. And we're going to dive into it because these two share a division. But Mahomes may no longer be the QB1 in fantasy as far as consensus goes. I would probably agree with that. I would take Josh Allen first. But even without Tyreek, he is a top 3 QB. He is a top 2 QB in this league. He got paid as such. He's been a top 6 QB in points per game the last 4 straight seasons, never going under 20 points per game. He's managed 4,700 plus yards and 37 plus TDs in 3 of those 4 seasons. Of course, the one outlier season we're talking about is the year he had the ankle sprain and, he dislocated his knee. We all remember that. It was discussed, and it was the craziest injury we had ever seen. And he played through the dislocated patella later on in the season. And one of the most accurate quarterbacks with top 10 fantasy points per dropback, which of course we love fantasy points per dropback. One of the easiest signs of finding a top quarterback for fantasy. Plus a team that, despite having a 6th ranked game script, still threw the ball at a second-ranked clip of 40 pass plays per game. I'm sorry, I just can't get behind Justin Herbert at QB2. I just can't. I'm awestruck by it. I provided the information. I'm not here to say Tyreek Hill made Patrick Mahomes. I'm not here to say Mahomes made Hill either. I think they were great compliments for each other, and they're both going to do great things in the situations and the positions that they're in. But, I mean, you may be biased, Jim, but I got to get your opinion on this, especially if we're actually seeing a fall from Patrick Mahomes from an ADP perspective.
So, listen, I love it. If you don't think these guys are going to have a chip on their shoulder, like, I love it. You got to respect Justin Herbert a little bit. I mean, air yards per game and yards per game, he's rocking in, I think, the top 3, top 4. Money balls, he's up there. Deep balls, he's throwing them. He's only going to get better. I'm sure that's definitely a statement. Patrick Mahomes is no slouch either. People are talking about like how 2021 he fell off. Well, actually, Justin Herbert had more pass attempts than him, so I hope to God he ended up having more yardage. But Pat Mahomes stayed consistent, I think, with like a 66.8%, I believe, completion percentage. Like it was right on par, right? Like his touchdown stayed on pace to what it would have been. I think his air yards dropped a little bit, but that was a whole wonky year where they were trying to adjust to him and make him do different things. So like adjusting on the run, and this cat's still doing what he's been doing for 4 years. So league saying they figured him out and everything. I say wait and see. We'll see it. But like again, I don't mind Justin Herbert. Like I liked him enough as a rookie for the price. I don't like his price now, though. I wouldn't take him top 2. Like, just real quick, who are your top 4? Like, in the draft? You named Josh Allen as your 1. Let's go 2, 3, 4.
Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. I love Lamar Jackson. I would put him in the top 4. That running upside is just too good. And I might have Herbert, but he'd probably be 4 for me. Like, even despite all, the whole thing with Kyler Murray and, his video game addiction and he needs a study clause in his contract. Kyler Murray's up there.
Released right after I drafted him, too, by the way. Released hours after I drafted him for like the first time.
Finally, you did it, and he did that to you. But like, you can't ignore the upside for rushing, and Herbert just he has some rushing upside. Like he's got the top 10 upside, but he's got like they're doing things to pretty much take it away. They got Isaiah Spiller, they got that RB2. I feel like Herbert and Murray are probably fighting for 4 and 5. Like they're probably 4.5 and 4.5. Like, but I would take Lamar Jackson over Justin Herbert. I feel like people might think that that's crazy, especially like there's some people saying, "Oh, Lamar Jackson shouldn't get paid," and they're showing videos of him throwing, and they're like, "This is why he doesn't deserve. This is why he's not a QB1," and all this stuff. And there's some. He's taken some shellacking for a guy who doesn't have a contract to study film.
Here's my thing about Lamar. So the NFL definitely evolves, correct? Like no longer is this the era of Sammy Baugh and Johnny Unitas, right? We would agree with that.
Agreed.
So the NFL is changing. They're going to pay Lamar Jackson if he wins games, and if he comes back in his dipsy doodle dandelion and rolling like he was last year, looking like an MVP again. And there were early talks about MVP for Lamar Jackson, so I don't understand why this hate is happening. If he comes out and wins games, why do they care how he would win them? Whether it's with his legs or through dunk and dunk passes. Man, he could throw a ball if he had to.
Absolutely.
Maybe not 72 yards or anything, but like, you know what I mean? Like, who cares how he wins? You don't even
have to. How often do people sit there and just chuck bombs 60, 70 yards? Well, yeah, we look at deep targets.
The AFC West, they happen a lot there, Connor, with big arm quarterbacks.
You look at deep targets. You look at deep targets per game, no, but like I think the best is around 5. Like you're not seeing these people launch the ball that frequently that's the be all end all for fantasy. Like to me, that's just absurd that would be the premise. And the fact that like Lamar Jackson for 4 years now is back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, and last season he was on pace for another 1,000-yard rushing season. Well, I understand the passing yards kind of suck. Like he was at 3,100 2 years ago, 2,700 1 year ago. This past season he was at 2,800, and he was on pace to go 3,500 to 4,000 yards. It was going to be a 1,000 rushing season and a 4,000 passing yard season. Like that's huge. But then people will look at Matthew Stafford and be like, well, he had 5,000 passing yards. So, but he had like 100 rushing yards. So are we to sit there and believe that 5,000 yards, no matter how you do it, is different? 4,000 passing yards is different from like 5,000 passing yards, and 100 rushing yards is different from 4,000 passing yards and 1,000 rushing yards? No, they're not different. Like to me, that's what gets me. And I understand accuracy of pass and stuff. Like there's reason to like Stafford in certain situations over Lamar Jackson, but you get my point.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we're in the AFC West here, and I'm running off here, so I'm just gonna like real quick here. In deep ball attempts per game, you were right. Number one was 5.5, and I will leave. That was actually Russell Wilson. I'll tell you that. Let me name 5 quarterbacks, right? I'll name 5 quarterbacks. You tell me how you think they'd rank in deep ball attempts per game. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, Derek Carr. Who do you think is number one in that group?
Patrick Mahomes.
Who's 2?
Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Now, who are the other 2?
Dak and Derek.
I think it's Derek Carr, and then I'd say Dak last.
Okay, so Dak actually leads that group. And then it's Josh Allen 2.
Probably should have known that.
Pat Mahomes 3, Derek Carr 4, but very close to Pat. Like he's like 0.1. It's 4.6 and 4.5. Like it's negligible. And Lamar Jackson's 4.5. Like Derek Carr is right in there between Pat Mahomes and Lamar Jackson in deep ball attempts per game. That's what I found pretty fucking crazy. For the AFC West there, right? Like some dandies. And then a little bit further down, there's actually Justin Herbert. So Derek Carr is actually ahead of Justin Herbert in deep ball attempts per game. And I think that's actually going to go up with the addition of Devonte Adams.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely. Definitely. I can see that. So we agree that it's preposterous at the Mahomes situation. Let's move to Denver.
Absolutely. Yeah,
let's move to Denver, where the Broncos finally have their QB after attempting to bridge a position for countless seasons. Russell Wilson did suffer the finger tendon rupture last season, which cost him 3 games, but also affected him for many more games when he came back. It was his worst per game output since 2016, which happened to be his worst fantasy season output altogether per game at QB 17. He started the season with 3 top 10 finishes in 5 weeks before the injury, and then finished in the top 10 only 4 more times in the 9 games when he returned. We have become accustomed in fantasy to Ross cooking before burning out later in the fantasy season. He has 7 top 10 finishes from weeks 9 through 16 over the last 3 seasons. That's 23 games. He has 7 top 10 finishes. 3 out of 9 in playoff weeks he finished in the top 10 for you over the last 3 seasons. We know Russ can cook, but we know he can also deliver some major volatility given his average draft position. Could this change in Denver despite his startup ADP of pick 14 or QB 8? I will also throw this your way, Jim. He has the 5th easiest strength of schedule among quarterbacks this season.
Yeah, okay. I think he can do better than what he did in Seattle, but I don't think. Okay, and all like this is gonna sound like a couple. All depends really on the league, right? Because like QB8's good, but like pick 14 is high. You know what I mean? Like That's
in
really...
Superflex. It is like you take the turn, and he is
That's
likely that's
Gone.
your turn, and he's your QB1. Like you are signing up for Russell Wilson as your QB1.
You've got to be able to, and you got him on the turn on the double tap, like the, you know what I mean, like the 12-13 coming around, the 11-14, you hit him there. But that's rich, man. That's so rich. Like, oh man, hey, quick, like, what's Mac Jones's ADP going at right now in comparison to Russ? Letting him cook. Fuck.
Let me pull that. Sorry. I shouldn't use the reference, but I used the reference. I had to use the reference. Yeah.
Listen, there's inflation. When we're cooking mac and cheese because we're broke.
I'll pull it up. Continue your statement, but I'm pulling it up.
Like, the line's a little bit better, yes, but his division's a little bit, like, his division now reminds me of, like, when Russ first got in the NFC West. You know what I mean? Like, that was a banging division. That was hard hitting. You had three teams that could literally beat the shit out of each other. That's what this AFC West feels like. So, like, an older Russ, I don't think, can move as nimble and be able to take as many hits. I don't think he's going to be lasting the full season in this division, man. He's not young Russ. He's old Russ. Like, he's getting tough.
Mac Jones, QB 19. You take him at pick 40.
Fucking beautiful. See? Listen, folks, with rising inflation, we eat cheap, man. Russ wants to cook. We cook mac and cheese. QB 19, that's definitely going to return dividends. It's going to be tasty. Yeah.
Another one down there is Zach Wilson. Wilson's number 20. But, I mean, it depends on...
You don't want to bank both of them for your QBs, right? Like, that's risky.
That's risky. No, you wouldn't. But, like, to me, are things better? Is this a better team? Is this a better situation? Yeah, Seattle's
just like the line
to enter and rebuild.
Yeah,
but it was bad there. Yeah, the line got better, but maybe that's the type of situation Russell Wilson needs. Is that a better offensive line?
Their line's a little bit better, but is Cortland Sutton really better than DK? According to ADP, up until he got Russ, absolutely not. It was absurd to even think that Cortland Sutton was on the level of DK Metcalf. And you were stupid to even fucking consider it. Jerry Judy, was he on the level of Tyler Lockett? Absolutely prior to that. And he was getting drafted as such prior to it. Last year he was, because they gave him the bounce back year, and now no. So is the running game really better? Javonta Williams and Melvin Gordon, is that better than Rashad Penny and Kenneth Walker? Well, I'd fucking hope so, based on the goddamn ADP that's happening.
I think a lot, like, and we'll talk about when we get to the running backs, but a lot also leans into Nathaniel Hackett, and Nathaniel Hackett is the reason people are buying AJ Dillon right now. Nathaniel Hackett is the reason AJ Dillon is in like the top 24 conversation at the running back position, because he molded this like two-headed monster in Green Bay in Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, and AJ Dillon is almost being drafted as high, if not at the same level of Aaron Jones. Which is crazy. Which is crazy,
right?
But
crazy.
But I agree with you on the Russell Wilson aspect. Like, is the situation that much better? I'm not 100% convinced it's that much better, that he beats what he is right now. Like, look at the last time, like, he was a QB1 in 2017. He was the QB1. Since then, 13, 6, 6, and 13. Like, you're drafting him at essentially his ceiling. Like, you'd be buying him at his ceiling and expecting him to perform. Like, he'll perform a little bit better. But look at the landscape of the top 5 quarterbacks right now. Top 6 quarterbacks. I would be hard pressed to think Russell Wilson can beat out some of those guys at the top. Like, I don't think, barring injury, he can beat out Patrick Mahomes. He can beat out Josh Allen. He can beat out even Kyler Murray. I get it. The clause in his contract has people like baffled, but Kyler Murray still produced. He still produces as a top 5 quarterback for fantasy. Who cares what homework needs to be done to make him to be happy with
I
him
do.
as your franchise quarterback.
A little bit.
A little bit, but at
I
the end of
care
the
a little
day,
bit. Man, like, come on. I want my quarterback. Like in the eons of time, there's been no quarterback that's been successful. It's been like, man, can you at least watch 4 hours of film a day or a week? Like 4 hours of film a week. That's less than 1 hour of film a day. You could bang that all off in one day. Really, that's less than 1 day of school. Crazy. And this is like you're getting paid millions. That's insane. Connor, I have to stare at a screen longer than 4 hours a day at my job. I would gladly do it for that type of money. I don't know, man.
I don't know. I just think it's tough to imagine him sniffing anything better than being like the QB6 or like the 6 to 8. That seems like the range. That just seems right.
Oh no, absolutely. Like you're buying that as absolute ceiling. So like again, I'm all for cheap. So I'm gonna get my quarterback this year in redraft leagues or season long, however we're saying it, is Mac Jones. For me, I'm targeting him, and like all the reports are sexy. Like the completion percentage as a rookie when he wasn't asked to do much was nice.
And look at the people around him too. But
yeah,
we talked.
Like, I mean, okay,
we got our
I'm
chance
upset,
to
actually.
praise Mac.
I know we did. All right. So like, let's keep talking. Well, I already kind of touched on Justin Herbert and his sexiness. Do you want to touch on your man crush there, Derek Carr, who I've tried to avoid?
Well, you want to talk about cheap? Yeah, you want to talk about cheap? Let's talk about Derek Carr because
I don't know. He's kind of rising with inflation costs, isn't he?
No, really. He's actually going as a QB 18 in Dynasty. When we're talking from Dynasty, like he's still dirt cheap. But yes, the last time Derek Carr sniffed near QB1 status was 2015 when he had the duo of Crabtree and Cooper go off for 1,000 yards apiece. And he averaged out as a QB 13 in points per game at 17.6. Of course, 17.6 isn't going to allow you to sniff the top quarterbacks in the league in fantasy nowadays. Perhaps 2022 is the year he finally cracks it. While Carr is an extremely accurate quarterback, his fantasy production has never been great. Safe QB2 worthy at best. An injury to his top target in Darren Waller last season hurt him quite a bit. Still only mustering 6 top 12 performances in the fantasy season. A healthy Waller, the addition of Devonte Adams, and the recent emergence of Hunter Renfro have fantasy managers much more excited. I know that in redraft, he is going much higher. That's probably where you saw the rise in inflation because I think he is going almost as a QB1 in redraft / underdog / leagues, situations like that. I know you don't love Derek Carr. I get it. And it's hard to be, fair in this situation and unbiased. But what are your expectations here without,
oh man,
Devonte Adams is the best
I kind of touched on it.
Ever had.
I kind of touched on it a little bit already, thinking that his deep ball attempts is probably going to go up. His money ball attempts is probably going to go up. His red zone attempts are probably going to go up. I think Devonte Adams is actually probably going to be the piece on offense that, okay, so Carlson was a kicker that I targeted last year in leagues that had kickers because the Raiders were an offense to me that would go the distance, sputter, and then have to kick field goals. Like they could march, but they couldn't punch. You know what I mean? I think Devonte Adams is going to be that nice icing on the cake. And on another little spin on twisted things, I think that team this year also remains in the AFC West with the Denver Broncos. I think they're going to be a team that marches but sputters near the red zone. See if I'm wrong, Ross. Let's see if you can fucking cook now. But I don't know, man. Like Derek Carr, obviously, yes, I get it. He's got his fucking college quarterback or his college wide receiver back with him. I mean, even though that was like 17 years ago. Back, I know, I'm just kidding. Back a long time ago. But yeah, I guess there's a connection. It's the best receiver ever to have. But like, you're drafting him in redraft, kind of like, okay, not at his ceiling, but definitely not his floor. You know what I mean? Like, you're definitely not drafting me at his floor, that's for sure. And like, I don't know, man. Like rising cost of inflation, I guess. Like I just turned to another thing. Like he's safe. Like he's a good QB2, I guess, or like a bye week filler. If you drafted Kyler really early and now you're concerned about film study, like I am in that one league where I drafted him. I'm not worried. But
yeah, I get it. I get it with Derek Carr. It's hard to get excited about it because he's kind of more of a safer quarterback. He's more of like,
But what's really weird is like you take all of his pieces, right? Like Devonte Adams, who I just in the same draft as Kyler Murray took because I feel comfortable with Devonte Adams. But and you'd also take Darren Waller. Some people are taking Hunter Renfro. Like where you're taking him and what do you want to be? Like I love Hunter Renfro, obviously not as a wide receiver 1, but like as a nice wide receiver 3 in the start 3 league or as a flex play as a flex.
Yeah.
It's sexy, man. It's absolutely sexy. But like I'm telling you, he is totally a wide receiver 3. So like to put him in your wide receiver 3 spot and 3 wide receivers, I think that's fantastic. You know exactly what you're getting for him.
You
know what I mean?
And you know that he loves the tight end. Like Darren Waller at this point, the way that things are going with ADP and like Kyle Pitts is up there now, Mark Andrews is up there now, pushing down the value of Travis Kelce, pushing down the value of Darren Waller.
Hey, I heard it real quick. So you said Mark Andrews. I just saw a trade happen in a league, and I have no idea how this happened. It's not a tight end premium, but it was Pat Freiermuth, True North, fucking gymnastic, definitely hard a goal guy, for Mark Andrews. I said, what the fuck is happening here? Ooh, that's crazy, right?
Ouch. Well, like as you talk about that, like Kyle Pitts, tight end 1, obviously in Dynasty, we expected that to happen. Mark Andrews, tight end 2, Travis Kelce, tight end 3 at pick 46, George Kittle, tight end 457.5, Darren Waller, tight end 5 at 71. Those 3 names that I just named off as the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th tight ends off the board were your top 3 tight ends a year ago.
Last year.
1 year ago. That was it. And the situation for these guys hasn't really changed.
Well, has for Waller. He got a better player.
Well, Waller got
for Kelce, he lost a better player from.
But the thing is, like, when you look at it, Waller missed a lot of time last season. Waller lost a lot of missed a lot of time last season. But if you sit there and you think Hunter Renfro is going for 120 targets or whatever again this season, no, because when you look at how often the tight end position was targeted for the Raiders, it's still in the top 10. I think it's almost the top 5. He still wanted to target Darren Waller a lot, and he is still going to target Darren Waller a lot. There's a word like last season, they targeted their wide receiver position in Vegas, one of the lowest rates in the whole league, but they still targeted the position over 300 times. There's a world where Darren Waller fits. There's a world where Devonte Adams fits. There's a world where Kittle fits with Ayuk or Samuel, whatever you want to say. Kittle is still a big focal point of that offense. And Kelce is 100% going to see the most targets. And I know we usually don't get a chance to hit on tight end for very long, so I'll talk about it for a minute. Kelce will lead that offense in targets, and he will lead it by a significant number. And I love Juju Smith-Schuster. And, okay, Sky Moore, whatever, it is what it is. Kelce is still the focal point of that offense. He is still the person that is going to be most trusted by Patrick Mahomes. And you know it. The guy's going to go off and get 120, 30, 40 targets. You just know it.
Connor, I can't wait until they run the AFC West again. And then I look at all my buddies and I say, I thought they were falling off. And I look at my buddies who are real close to me because I'm in Buffalo Bills country. And I'm sure it's going to happen that they play again because they've already written them off for some reason. Buffalo Bills are number 1 odds to win the Super Bowl. I said, they haven't even beat the Chiefs yet. They ever to make it. I go, why don't you just try to beat the Chiefs first? Oh, well, they've gotten worse. But you've been saying that forever. I go, just give us 45 seconds and a script, and things will change. But, you got to get past, I guess, if the almighty powers that be, football gods, let them pass. I guess they'll let them pass. But until then, like Buddy in the Robe said with the staff, and I'm going to piss off a lot of people. I know what the movie is, by the way. I'm just doing this to be an asshole. Thou shalt not go. No.
We don't care about Vegas on this show. We don't care who's got the number one odds. You never rule out a guy like Patrick Mahomes, just like you never rule out Tom Brady. You never rule out certain people in this league. It's a reality. We touched on Justin Herbert enough, I think. We like Herbert.
Sure
we just don't like we don't like his ADP. It's rich. It's very rich. So let's talk about a fool's gold quickly. Jim, who's your gold? Who's your fool's gold?
Oh, man, it's got to be my man, Patty Mahomes, man. Throwing behind the back passes in practice because he doesn't give a shit about this league. He's just doing some circus shit. The disrespect on the ADP, yeah, perfect. Get him at. I've actually seen him fall in Superflex leagues as low as like 105, 106. Absolutely.
Yeah, because you probably have like Jonathan Taylor and Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. You probably have some people taking a shot at those guys before quarterback.
You sure do. You sure do. Like me and
what about fools?
My fool's gold is going to be Justin Herbert. It's not a thing on talent. It's just like how we've already touched on. The juice is not worth the squeeze, as I like to say, if it is or if it isn't. But it's not in this case because I think you're buying him at the ceiling.
And I think we actually agree on this point. I think Russell Wilson, you're getting him where you're going to get him at this point. He's going to be a QB1. He's going to give you good weeks. He's going to give you bad weeks. He's a bit of a volatile pick at that spot. But Patrick Mahomes is a gold. He is a gold standard. He set the standard before Josh Allen took the crown as the QB1. Justin Herbert, for me, is going to be fool's gold as well. And for the exact same reasons that you said, you're drafting him at or above his ceiling at this point. I don't think Justin Herbert with Patrick Mahomes, with Josh Allen, with Lamar Jackson in this league, I don't think Justin Herbert can become the QB1. I just don't see it as a outcome for him. So you're taking him at the absolute ceiling, and you can probably get guys who can give you similar performances behind him or below him. So running back position, I wanted to start it with the strength of schedule. 3 of the 4 teams are in the bottom 10 of strength of schedule, adjusted strength of schedule per Fantasy Pros. The Denver Broncos are 10th worst. The LA Chargers are the 7th worst, and the Vegas Raiders are the 4th worst. So I just wanted to start it off with that because I think that especially in a room like Vegas, where it's going to look very different after this year, this is the type of schedule you do not want as Josh Jacobs to help prove yourself and to get that second contract. Denver Broncos, Javonta Williams is expected to be the guy according to Fantasy Land, despite the Broncos bringing back Melvin Gordon, who he split 50-50, almost essentially 50-50 last season, and new offensive play caller Nathaniel Hackett, who I did mention earlier, the guy who's making you have faith in A.J. Dillon, making you want A.J. Dillon, making you want to buy A.J. Dillon, the one that created that two-headed monster in Green Bay with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon that everyone's all about because they don't really have great wide receivers. People are so bought into Javonta Williams, and I shit you not, Jim. You hold on to your seat. He is going as the RB5 in Dynasty.
Who are the 4 ahead of him?
Jonathan Taylor,
yeah,
Christian McCaffrey, DeAndre Swift, and Najee Harris. That is it. That's all you got. We're going to talk about the NFC later on and DeAndre Swift going as RB3 because we got some discussion to have, I think, on that matter. Gordon has been a top 24 RB in points per game over the last 6 straight seasons. Last year, as the RB21, it was his worst per game output of those 6 seasons at 12.2 per game, but he was sharing the load very much with Javonta Williams. He also saw a 19th ranked weighted opportunity of 11.4 per game. Weighted opportunities do add a little bit of a bonus point to targets over just touches in the run game. Williams averaged 0.1 point per game less and was the RB22 in per game output. Saw a 13th ranked weighted opportunity at 12.1 per game. He saw a couple more targets. That's what gives him the better weighted opportunity. if you go up and down their efficiency profiles, they're identical. Go to Player Profiler, go up and down. These two are identical. These two are going to split. At most, I would give Javonta Williams a 60-40 split next season. At most. Are we convinced his sophomore season will be that profoundly different from his rookie season, Jim? I'm not. I give it 60-40 at best. And we talk about it in one of our group chats all the time. This league is moving to running back by committee more and more every single season. Every single season, another bell cow falls off and in comes another committee. That's the cycle. That's the nature of the beast. Maybe we'll have a different discussion next offseason, especially at the running back position with the class that's coming out. But I don't think we're going to have that different of a discussion. Javonta Williams is so rich. When I saw that RB5 ADP, I nearly
fucking 5.
Like I
fell off your chair.
Fell off my seat. I did.
That's insane. Man.
If you got him in your rookie draft, good. I'm okay with you getting him in the rookie draft. I'm fine with the value that he was there because
you cashing out on that cashier's check or no?
If somebody's willing to really pay, like if you can get like 2 times first, especially in this year's class or something, or 1 times first this year plus like a stud player with him, I would probably cash out. You are bringing in Nathaniel Hackett. You are bringing in a guy who has epitomized not a running back by committee approach, but a 2-headed approach at the running back position. Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams.
How's that not a committee?
I figure that's a couple. A committee's got to be more than 2. But I mean, I feel like a committee's got to be more than 2. But he epitomized it. He got Jamal Williams, Aaron Jones. Then you had A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. Like he epitomized this like 2-headed monster. There is
nothing in that equation was Aaron Jones.
Exactly.
Just like it was always Bo Jackson.
Exactly.
The Raiders, Bo Jackson and Marcus
But
Allen.
like for people to sit there and think that Javonta Williams is going to get enough work, be more efficient, and meet that type of ADP, I can't. And we've talked about it. I think we've talked about this quite a bit this season.
Let me ask you real quick. Let me fast forward real fast and through this. Is there a running back in this division that you feel comfortable drafting at their respectable ADP as of right now that you think would give you an opportunity over probably other running backs at the position?
I hate the situation in Kansas City. Oh, man, I just hate it.
You sure fucking do.
I hate the situation in Vegas because it's going to look so different next year. I think, honestly,
there's one. In this entire division, there's only one.
I think I'd be comfortable. Are we talking like top end? Like, are we talking RB1 upside?
I'm not talking shit. I'm asking you, is there a running back in this division that you would feel comfortable drafting today at their respectable ADP?
Isaiah Spiller.
Okay, for me, it's Melvin Gore.
Melvin Gordon's a great one, too. Melvin Gordon's a tremendous one, too. I agree.
But
I like Isaiah Spiller.
One in this. Yeah. I don't mind him, but I think he's
if I'm not mistaken, they're probably
Melvin Gordon's, I think, just involved and going to get exactly what you think he's going to get. But, like, for some reason, people are disrespecting him. But as far as running backs in this division, that's the only one, like, for 2022, 2023 fantasy, that would be the only one I'd be taking.
The funny thing is it was a near double-double there. Melvin Gordon, RB38, Isaiah Spiller, RB42 in Dynasty. So
I like it.
But, yeah, like, and I mean, like, we kind of touched on it very briefly. Like, I mean, the Vegas Raiders situation is such a mess for Dynasty. Like, and we've talked about it. Me and you love Zamir White. Like, he would probably be the only person we take because he's the only person guaranteed to be there next season. Yeah. Almost guaranteed to be there next season. I mean,
absolutely.
It's
very going to be interesting. Yeah, well, that's what I was saying in the private chats with you. Why I like Zamir is because, okay, as of right now in the league, I think there's only maybe 5 teams with a true bell cow back that's getting like 18 to 22 touches, right? Whether it be targets or carries, right? Zamir White, I think, can be, because they're already not invested in Josh Jacobs. Sorry, that was spaced out. And they're already not invested in Kenyon Drake. So, like, they're probably not going to come back. And if they do, it's really cheap. So then it comes to a point of, do they invest heavily in a running back class that's supposed to be bananas? Or do they wait, address other issues, maybe trade back, pull up, and grab a cheapy, sneaky pass catcher, or maybe one in free agency and pair them? Because I do think these leagues are going running back by committee. Why wouldn't they? You got an extra game in the vault. It's a hard position to play. Like, the average lifespan of running backs, what, 2.5 years before they're out of the league? Like, it's insane. So, I don't know.
And
I like Zamir White too, but not for fantasy purposes this year. Like, you're not going to get anything out of him.
And you even look at the bell cows now. CMC, they want to take touches away. Jonathan Taylor, they want to take touches away. Austin Eckler,
Derrick Henry.
and Eckler wasn't even at bell cow, but he just had so much opportunity. But they want to take touches away. The only one that they don't want to take touches away, they do want to take touches away, but they don't have the backfield to do it, is Najee Harris. They want to take touches away.
And Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry, they want to take touches away. Look at all the reports. Everybody, like, we have to adjust our idea of a running back and how to use them and how to draft them, because gone or disappearing are the days of a guy like Derrick Henry getting 25 touches a game. You are going to get to a point where 20 is a high-end running back, and that's a high-end running back right now. We're going to be talking about 15. Like 3-4 years down the road, we're going to be talking about 15 as a high-end running back.
Or 15 touches.
Touches as a total touches. Like, I feel like we're going to get to that point where, like, the average will be there.
Man. Then you're looking for the guys that are weighted opportunity, that are bang within the 5. That's what I'd be looking for. Who's getting okay, so you're going to get 20 touches, you're going to get 15 touches, 18 touches. Great. Are 6 of them in the 5-yard line and closer? Because I guarantee 2 of them better be going for fucking TDs. You know what I mean? Like,
but look at the touches now. Like, look at them for some of them. Najee Harris was what, like 23, 24. Derrick Henry was like 25. Like, some of the true bell cut, like Jonathan Taylor, same thing. He was in that same ballpark. But, like, you can't expect some of these guys to continue to go on. And some of these guys want to get creative with their backfields. It's such a different landscape at the running back position now. I mean, as we were talking about the Vegas Raiders, like, you look at how they use a running back, they don't. The opportunity is so limited. 23.8, which is crazy to me. 28th ranked, and you offer 23.8 rush attempts per game. That's how split backfields are at this point. You offer up that many rush attempts, and you're 28th in the league for rush attempts per game. And in efficiency, they ranked 25th in ranked yards per attempt. What is fascinating about Josh Jacobs to me, he's been a top 15 running back per game production over the last 3 seasons. Every year, like, he feels like someone he's very, very dirty. That's a perfect word for
he's dirty. You know what he reminds me of? He's like the AFC West Miles Sanders.
100%. I couldn't agree more.
Except I'd rather have Miles Sanders, to be honest with you. I'd rather have
because he's cheaper.
Sanders. Yeah, a little bit.
He's cheaper, and at the end of the day, if Miles Sanders can stay healthy, I trust Miles Sanders to produce on a bigger basis, because his yards per carry, his true yards per carry are so good. He's been so good for that, but the injuries have just plagued him. But, like, Josh Jacobs, like, that's just crazy to me. 3 straight top 15 running back seasons from a points per game perspective is insane. And they're going to move on from it. And that's one of the reasons I don't think they invest running back in the first round. Again, like, next year.
Fit what team in the NFL? He hits free agency. They don't re-sign him. What team in this NFL fits Josh Jacobs on today's roster? Barring no changes.
Wherever you need a running back who can get you a couple yards. You need 3 yards. He's going to give you 3 yards.
Yeah, okay, so who's he pushing out? What team?
He's not the big thing to remember, Go look at the free agent running backs next season.
Oh,
Next season is a massive shift in the running back market. This is going to be the biggest shift we ever see in the running back market in years. With the running back class incoming and the
housing market of 2008.
Since the housing market that's incoming.
Oh, fuck.
Let's touch on the Chargers. I don't want to talk about the Chiefs a lot because, the situation
I know because it's dirty.
It's similar. It's dirty. It's just like the Raiders situation to me because it could look so completely different next season. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the only one under contract beyond like next season. You got Ronald Jones. You got Jerick McKinnon.
Cheap. Wicked cheap.
Wicked cheap. 100%. Wicked cheap.
I think under $1 million on one of them.
Yeah. And like for fantasy, you got CH going RB28, Jones going RB43. And in Dynasty, Jerick McKinnon's free. He's going outside the top like 75 RBs. Like he isn't even on the DLF page. That's how low he went. So like the value is there, but like kind of like you were talking about earlier, who are you going to put in there week in and week out? Who are you going to trust? Especially like CH. You can't take CH at RB28. Look at some of the people going behind him. You can trust those guys on a week in and a week out basis probably more than you can trust CH. Nyheim Hines. I would trust Nyheim Hines on a week-in and a week-out basis more than I would trust CH, and he's going 18 picks behind CEH. He's going 46. Daryl Henderson, similar ballpark. Daryl Henderson, I think I'll pull it up.
I love Daryl.
Like you would think, like you got Miles. I'll give you a few. Miles Sanders, Devin Singletary, Tony Pollard, Damian Harris, Kareem Hunt, Chase Edmonds, all going behind him. Melvin Gordon, of course, we talked about earlier. Isaiah Spiller.
All my Singletaries are going behind him. Singletaries.
Kenneth Gainwell, Nyheim Hines, Michael Carter, Daryl Henderson, 49, RB49. I would take like 3 of those running backs before I took CH or Jones. Like some of those names I mentioned, Jones, RB43, Kenneth Gainwell, Nyheim Hines, Daryl Henderson, all going behind him as well. You just can't.
You're absolutely right. But let's get to a position in this division that people want to talk about. And that's
you're going to skip over Austin Eckler like you don't even care about us.
Stinks. No, I'm just kidding. Like Jay Lovett said in The Critic, he stinks. But I'm just kidding. No, okay, let's do Austin Eckler. That's fine.
We'll run through it very quickly.
We're gonna be really over, but that's okay.
We're always over in these divisional breakdowns. We're always over, but yeah. So Eckler, they brought in Austin Spiller. Eckler was the RB2 last season. He was probably buoyed by 20 touchdowns. Let's not deny it. There's probably some regression. It's probably going to happen in that regard because it was number 1 among running backs. Isaiah Spiller's coming into the mix. What type of touches is he going to see to Isaiah Spiller? Is it going to be the red zone touches? Obviously, it's not going to be the passing because that is the bread and butter of Austin Eckler. Eckler was pretty effective last season. His true yards per carry was pretty good. His true yards per carry were better in 2020 than 2021 when he saw a few less carries. It was actually 1 less carry per game. What do you think? Are you in or out on Eckler? I think he's going RB8. He's right in the 8 to 10 range.
No.
We made fun of him last year. We were terrible with him last year. We said he's not even a running back, and he went out and kind of proved us wrong. He didn't run for 1,000. Right. He didn't rush for 1,000 yards, whatever. But we were hard on him.
Like Lamar Jackson, who gives a shit how he gets it done for you, whether it be legs or whether it be the arm. You know what I mean? Like through the air or through the ground. Land or sea, points be found. I guess, but I don't know, man. I got a bias on him. You're absolutely right. And I don't even know why, because I've seen him do interviews and stuff, and he seems like an all right dude. You know what I mean? He seems cool. I don't know, man. I don't know.
He loves the fantasy community.
He
loves his community too. You can't even.
It just seems like a guy that when I invest in him, you're gonna get that report he pulled a hammy and I'm responsible for it. I drafted Kyler Murray and then he needs to watch film. So I don't want to do that.
That's fair. Like, I understand, and I like Isaiah Spiller. I like where he is. They brought him in because they finally found like an NRB2 who can fit the mold of the 1-2. That's another two-headed monster. Like, he's probably going to see a couple touches per game in rushes because it just makes most sense to give Isaiah Spiller the rushes over Austin Eckler.
How about this? The next draft I do, I'll take Austin Eckler if I can at some point, and we'll see if bad news comes out within 12 hours.
Austin Eckler owners will just despise you for doing that to them. But yeah, let's move on to the wide receiver position. I put it in a specific order because I give each team an opportunity to be number one. So the Vegas Raiders are number one here. They splashed early in the offseason. They picked up Devonte Adams. They have the established wide receiver 2, Hunter Renfro, which obviously in fantasy is wide receiver 3 or your flex play. Adams has been a top 12 wide receiver in per-game production the last 6 straight seasons, including 3 seasons as the wide receiver 1 or 2. What do you think?
I like Devonte Adams. If anybody can come into a team and have an instant connection like Diggs did with Allen and buck the new team wide receiver downturn trend, it's definitely Devonte Adams. Like, he was definitely ranked the number 1 wide receiver in a lot of polls for a reason. Like, among his peers in route running and just like monster radius for catchability. The guy's an absolute athlete. So does it make the Raiders better? Absolutely it does. I can see him definitely landing in the top 3 at his position for fantasy. I can see it being anywhere between him, Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs, Jamar Chase. One of those, some combination of those 4 in the top 3. I wouldn't be surprised at that. So Hunter Renfro, I like too at the price. Waller's the guy that up until you told me that ADP, I thought was not worth it because he's kind of in that, just because of where he is. Like, I guess he's like, tight end 5, which is pretty good, but like, it's a weird zone to be taken. You know what I mean? Like, you probably still got to take him in an area where you're missing out on some high-end running backs as like your RB2s or some high-end wide receivers if you're going to start 3. And I feel like at that position you can just wait for the tight end. But like, yeah, man, I like Devonte Adams. I'm actually like, this is the year I'll probably go in on him.
I can give you a couple names after Darren Waller. I give you a couple names. You got Amari Cooper, A.J. Dillon, Marquise Brown, David Montgomery, Darnell Mooney, Cortland Sutton, Rashad Bateman, Treylon Burks, Jameis Winston, Kenny Pickett, Josh Jacobs.
Actually, I'm
just a few of the names.
I'm probably going to take them then there, to be honest.
It would probably depend if you get sniped before, because the guys before him sound a little more intriguing. You got like DJ Moore, Mike Evans, J.K. Dobbins, Terry McLaurin, Chris Godwin, Keenan Allen, Zeke Elliott, Kenneth Walker.
Wait, Chris Godwin?
Right there.
He's still going, eh?
Wide receiver 19. This was July ADP. This is probably before the Julio Jones thing, but it doesn't matter. Chris Godwin's still going up there because if healthy, which is always the massive if.
Oh, I love the ifs.
He's going to perform.
I love the ands and I love the buts.
I agree, but I mean, in regards to the Raiders, like they've targeted the wide receiver at like at bottom 5 rate in like 3 straight seasons.
But that's because their offense was built around a tight end position where they didn't have a true number 1. So,
but I don't think we see a dramatic shift.
No, I think you do. I think you see more of a split like you saw with the Cooper Crabtree. Now with a Waller Adams, except it's just a bigger man. Like Waller, like they tried him out at the wide receiver, right? Like he can play. I don't know. He can do it.
It just sucks because
he's a big wide receiver.
I think the one that gets hurt the most here is Hunter Renfro. Because like there's no way he's seeing over 100 targets. The two guys who are most likely to see 100 targets are Devonte Adams. Devonte Adams is getting 100 targets. Just like Tyreek Hill.
How many targets?
Those guys who got paid $30 million.
Do you think they're going to have? How many pass attempts realistically in 17 games do you think they're going to have? 650?
Perhaps. I think that might even be high.
You better throw at least 625 to keep pace with the rest of the West.
Yeah, based on the division, they're probably going to throw at a way higher rate than they've ever really thrown because they're going to be forced to if they want to compete in this division.
I think so, unless they're going to be banging on the defense. And they got a nasty defense, too. That goes kind of under noticed with a lot of fantasy talks, but they got a nasty defense. Actually, the Raiders' defense is one that I truly do fear. They get at the fucking quarterback a lot. That Max Crosby's a fucking animal, man. Mad respect to that guy. Fuck.
And another thing, they have a really difficult running back schedule. So they're playing high-end Russian defenses. So you don't want to face that. Like, you want to go to the air. You want to try and exploit that because that's where you might have a better opportunity.
Which actually LA Chargers. Like, do you think real quick, I was just thinking about that, like Devonte Adams, do you think he's going deep balls? Like a lot of deep balls? Because like we think that's going to go up. But like if they're getting pass rushed or like a good rushing schedule, right, where it's going to be hard, and they're going to be crashing in that box. Do you think he's going to have time to unload fucking car-like bombs? Car bombs. Irish car bombs.
Let's see. Deep targets last season, he ranked 15th.
4.5.
23. No, I'm talking. Oh, not Carr. I'm talking about Adams. He saw 23 deep targets, 1.4 per game, 15th. I don't see it being a whole lot more than that. Like, I don't think that they're gonna go that much bigger. Like, they're set up in a way that Carr's probably gonna have a lot of the intermediate throws. You're probably gonna see a lot of 10 to 20-yard passes.
Shit out of me, where like they're gonna eat in the same zone. That's Waller's zone.
But
that's
create
Waller
after
and
the play.
Renfro.
Like Renfro was top 10 in yak last season.
I know he's good.
Adams was top 10 in yak. Waller go back to his last season where he's fully healthy, top 10 at his position. Good. Like these guys can produce after the catch. You don't got to worry about working in the same situation like that.
I don't know. I work, but I'm not paid millions of dollars to be an NFL coordinator, so I don't have to worry about that. But I do.
What about the Chargers? Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, the duo that will run this offense again. However, a much cheaper option that a lot of people are falling in love with, Josh Palmer, who's garnering some more hype and usage through camp and becoming the wide receiver 3 in LA. Chargers wide receiver saw the 5th most targets last season at 390. Allen continues to be this ridiculously cheap option. A top 12 wide receiver in per game output in the last 5 of 6 applicable seasons. He only played 1 game in 2016. And continues to go as a back-end wide receiver, too. As a wide receiver 20, he's seen 135-plus targets and 6-plus TDs in 5 straight seasons with 1,100 yards and 100-plus receptions in 4 of 5. Mike Williams,
Big Mike,
much more volatile, but he goes at the wide receiver 33. You might be able to take that shot. He exploded for over 1,000 yards for the second time in 5 years, plus his first 100-plus target season. In the fantasy season, he did see 7 top 24 weeks. Not bad until you realize you probably played him on some real duds. Because when he was in the top 24 wide receiver, he never finished better than 40th. Never. And only 1 game went outside of the top 24 did he ever top 8 fantasy points per week. I know from group discussions, you like Josh Palmer.
I do like Josh Palmer.
And I know from last year we like Keenan Allen because he's a value.
Yeah, it was definitely value. And actually it's the opposite this year. So I still like Josh Palmer. It's beautiful. And I actually tell the people what I told you in this upcoming draft. You were like, I think I need to take a wide receiver who was at the top of the ADP, my man. I'll tell him.
Oh, that I was looking at taking?
Yeah.
Keenan Allen, yeah.
It was Keenan Allen. And I said, why don't you just take DJ Moore and wait to see come back around and see if you can slap Big Mike. If you don't slap Big Mike, that's fine. We'll look at other options. But that's the piece of the pie. You know what I mean? Like, let's take a piece of Carolina's pie and let's wait on the piece of the Chargers pie. It's a great pie to have. Same with another AFC team, the AFC West with Sutton and Judy. I never make that choice. I always let the league make that choice for me on who I'm going to grab. I'll grab the next immediately after. Like, if it's Sutton goes first, my next available pick, I will take Judy because I don't think he's going to be coming back. That's my game plan with it. And it's the same deal with this. So as soon as you took DJ Moore, I think the next wide receiver off the board was Keenan Allen. And now I'd be willing to, as he comes back around, take Mike Williams. If you don't get Mike Williams, though, man, you still get sexy Josh Palmer that you can plug in there for your wide receiver 3 or possibly I don't do better because this is, I believe,
well, even better. This is actually a best ball league, so even better. Mike Williams. I combine the names here. Mike Williams. You can go with the ebbs and flows of his rough weeks, but if you're in Dynasty or you're in a redraft league and you have to decide, like, I owned him in a couple leagues. I started him on back-to-back weeks where it was excruciating, pulled him out, and he dropped a bomb the next week with 25, 30 points. You just don't know. He's kind of like Tyler Lockett, very much so. Because you look at Tyler Lockett, most of his fantasy production comes in 6 or 7 games. Amari Cooper's even worse because most of his fantasy production comes in 3 or 4 games. But at the end of the day,
he's a good.
I like Palmer.
Wide receiver.
He's a good wide receiver. He's good for real life football. Maybe not so much in the.
Here's the thing, man. Like, he's busted out for fucking double-digit touchdowns. He's busted out for 1,000-yard seasons. It's like putting them together that needs to happen and consistently. You know what I mean? Like, if you can consistently give me like 70 yards and a touchdown, everybody's happy, right? Like. Everybody loves you. Even like 62, right? Like 62 and a fucking tutty. Give me 12.2 on the fucking Richter scale. You know what I mean? Like, it's good. It's good business for everybody, Mike. Come on, man. 5 for 62 and a tutty.
Bag. You just plead because a lot of those games he had like 6 or 7 targets and he drops like 6 points and you're like, man, why? You had the targets. Yeah, exactly. Catch a football. What are you doing? Get a touchdown. What are you doing?
Man. Come on, man. 5, man. You know, you get 5 for 6 for like 60 yards and a tutty. Or like even like 4 for 5 and like 2 tutties. Like, you know what I mean? I'll take 20 yards and 2 tutties. Give it to me, Mike. Give me consistency.
I agree. No, absolutely. What about the Chiefs? Let's talk about the Chiefs.
This is nasty.
Tyreek is, it is nasty, but I kind of like it. This is a nasty I can get behind, unlike the running backs of the Raiders and the running backs of the Chiefs, because they're all being undervalued. You are drafting Patrick Mahomes as your 2, your 3, your 4 at the quarterback position, and the first wide receiver off the board is Juju at 29, Sky Moore at 32. And then you boomer bust your best ball plays in MVS and Hartman at 62 and 81.
What about my man Josh Gordon? Not even my man.
He's not even there. He's not even there, man. They go up to like 110 people.
Could he be the Chiefs' number 1 wide receiver? Do you see Flash donning the old number as I was told?
No.
And working out immensely, doing the comeback tour like he's the 1985 Steel Wheels Rolling Stones fucking tour.
You want to know who I think it's gonna be, and it's already starting to rear its head in training camp? It's Juju, man. I think it's gonna be Juju. If not, like, Juju's gonna get the volume at the very minimum. I like Sky Moore. I love Sky Moore. There was right before we came onto the air, Juju. And it had said something about Andy Reid was talking about Sky Moore has those running back legs. And, the prospect of could he be a Debo-like player, always. Everyone's got to be the next Debo. But as soon as you talk about them running back legs and you got a shit backfield situation, you could probably mix them in there for a few carries, maybe a couple carries a game and see what happens.
Do you think Juju takes on the slot role or do you think he takes on the outside?
He does best in the slot. I really think that you have to kind of keep him in the slot. You can put him outside if there's enough attention in the slot.
Are you going to put Gordon and Mecole on the outside?
You could put Gordon and Mecole on the outside. You got Travis Kelce who's going to work the inside as well for you. Like,
I understand who's going to work the inside with you. I need someone to work the outside.
I mean, you look, Sky Moore can work the outside. There's no reason he can't. Look at his route run. That was one of the things.
Well, I thought that's the whole reason why we drafted fucking Mecole Hardman, though, right? Like, wasn't the whole Mecole Hardman draft in case we got rid of Tyreek Hill?
It was speed. Mecole Hardman's talent, like from a pure skill perspective, was never Tyreek Hill.
I'm being satirical, by the way. Like,
absolutely, I know you are.
I believe the reason why they drafted him and passed on DK Metcalf was because when Tyreek Hill goes, slide it right.
It's the time. Run that outside. Let those people feast on the inside. Listen, am I done with Mecole? The thing with Mecole Hardman now is the expectations aren't there. You can draft him, man. He's going as the wide receiver. 81. You can take that shot now. In prior years, you were looking at him at that 40, 50, 60 range.
So we'll
just wait it out. You just wait it out. Maybe he blows up. Maybe you trade him. Why not?
Oh yeah.
No. You trade him. You wait for the value. That, like, if you're taking him as a wide receiver 81, he's what, your 8th, 9th wide receiver? Like, you just wait for a couple good weeks and you get him off your roster. You try and sell him.
Yeah. You hope. Tied to the good offense.
You hope and you pray. Yeah, exactly. Crazy. Maybe the hype is there. Maybe it's there. Like, I've seen comments from Mecole Hardman, but probably not. Lastly, the Denver Broncos, they have the easiest strength of schedule per Fantasy Pros adjusted for wide receivers. They have the new quarterback who's sustained 2 top 24 wide receivers in multiple seasons. We've seen this. Judy struggled in 2021. He did have the high ankle sprain. His rookie season was a disappointment. The drops, he was just destroyed by them. There's a couple stats that keep me in on him. The yards per route run ranking 27th, and in target separation last season, he was number 1. And you may say, well, his cushion must have been pretty good, but that ranked 43rd among wide receivers as well. So it's not like he was being given this massive cushion. He's got a lot to prove, but separation's there. The production just has to come. The production on yards per route run is there, but more production has to come. And then, of course, there's Courtland Sutton, and we've talked about it. Are these two as a duo better than Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf? That is really debatable. And I think that Russell Wilson is going to prove that or not prove that to us this year. And then there's, of course, Tim Patrick, who a lot of people like too, but I think who would be the most volatile pick of this. So, Jim, thoughts on the Broncos wide receivers?
Yeah, just like I was saying to you with the Chargers, for me, it is debated and picked by the league that I'm in on which one I'm going to take. It seems to me, man, I remember a time when Jerry Judy was drafted way ahead in rookie drafts of Justin Jefferson, and it was absurd to think that Courtland Sutton was anywhere near being a wide receiver 1. Man, how the times have absolutely changed. So, like I said, like Scott Fishbowl, I took Jerry Judy, and that was literally one pick after Courtland Sutton, but that was literally only because I said with the Chargers wide receivers, as soon as one goes, then I'll be willing to take the other one in the next pick. And if I miss that one, oh well, the guy that took Sutton was literally the pick before me. So I took Judy because I didn't think it would make it back. And I was right too, because there was a lot of runs on it. This guy was a highly touted Alabama wide receiver. That's like wide receiver U, right? Alabama is what I was told. They just churn out these amazing wide receivers like Amari Cooper and Julio Jones and what's his face and that other guy. I'm just kidding. No, but for real, like he's technical. I mean, he does that weird leg thing, but who the fuck am I to say that that's like, not cool? I don't know, man. Like whatever, but like he seems to be doing the things that you want the wide receiver to be doing. So like, I don't get why people are shitting on him. Seems to be the cheapest you're ever going to get him in a dynasty, and at this price, I think he's he's definitely worth it, man. If everybody's all in on Russell Wilson, I don't see how they're not all in on this kid. Or really even Cortland, right? Like they're going like pretty fucking late, like in my opinion, if you're all in on Russell Wilson. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on it? Like, do you think he's
just
worth
pulling up the
taking?
ADPs to see? Sutton is
Tim Patrick,
24 and Judy is 28. So you're expecting, like at this point, you're kind of expecting these guys to be back end twos, maybe back end three, like a three. Like this is a guy who's sustained 2 top 24 wide receivers, whether or not you believe they're better or not than DK Metcalf
and taking
Tyler Lockett. I don't think that matters.
But you're taking Russ at fucking QB8.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he's not doing it with his legs. Like, I'm sorry, Russ is not.
It's the same to me. It's the same as Trevor Lawrence. You're taking him as a QB 12, but his first wide receiver off the board is Christian Kirk at wide receiver 48. What in the hell?
I think that's more of a spread out between 4 wide receivers that they think they're going to do. But this is a concentrated. You know it's going to be 2 wide receivers. You know exactly which 2 wide receivers this is going to be, and you're still shitting on them, thinking your quarterback's going to go fucking top 8 when these are the only major 2 options that he's going to pass to. Sure, a couple thinking dunk passes over to the running backs and a few little slices of the pie to Tim Patrick, but nothing of that gain of significance. And even if you do think it's significant for Tim Patrick, you're taking him way later than anybody else. So like. I
remember seeing earlier in the offseason a lot of people hyping Tim Patrick and thinking Tim Patrick was more of the type that Russell Wilson would go to.
And I think it was more based on like a situational ADP.
It's tough to say, but yeah, you got like Jerry Jeudy's got the skill, like you say, he's got the technical prowess. Sutton's got like the body type, he's got an alpha mentality. There's things to like about both of them, but the fact that both of these guys are going where they're going is like I agree with you.
Late.
You just take the second option, just like with the Chargers. Take the second option because it's going to be the cheaper option and they're going to give you what great opportunity. The volatility could exist, but you're going to hit some weeks. When you're debating likely, like especially at that wide receiver 24 and wide receiver, what was it, 30, 32?
28,
like 28?
28. Yeah.
Like that could be your third wide receiver off the board. Like that could probably potentially be your flex play. Like you could consider them as a flex option. So you don't have to worry about the ebbs and flows because they could be the flex and give you those weeks and miss on those weeks like your flexes usually do. Briefly, tight end. I really like Gerald Everett for the LA Chargers.
Me too, man. And I get always laughed at when I bring it up in any conversation.
I think he fits the mold. I think he fits the mold, man. I just think he fits the mold of the offense in LA. Jared cooked enough with that mold. Slow, sluggish, aging tight end. Gerald Everett kind of fits the mold of a higher octane offense, pass heavy offense. I feel like he's someone who people were going to look back and be like, yeah, we talked about Gerald Everett. And I've talked about Gerald Everett since he signed with the LA Chargers. It makes sense. If you're going to punt the tight end position, Gerald Everett seems like the perfect guy to punt that position too. We also talked last week. I talked last week with Craig. That division last week is one of the best divisions to punt tight end because the first one off the board is Evan Engram at 25. Why not? Perfect position. Punt away. Austin Hooper, Evan Engram, Brevin Jordan. This feels like Gerald Everett falls in that same line of people. If you're going to punt the tight end position, those 4 names are guys I guarantee likely 2 of them are top 12 tight ends at the end of this season.
Somebody is going to come out of the woodwork like it always happens since the days of
multiple people come out of the woodworks every year.
Yeah, right? Like my guy right now that everybody's shitting on for me right now is Bob Tanyan. I understand he's injured, but like
I love Tanyan too.
Free. He's free.
I think we talked about him a few shows ago, and like
we definitely did.
Yeah, it was the tight end review episode, and I said it, you said it. Grab Robert Tanyan, man. Who's Aaron Rodgers going to have the most faith in? Christian Watson's not even at camp right now. He's missing
Amari
time.
Rodgers.
Valuable time. Yeah, to get out of here. Robert Tanyan, I shared the stats with you. He was on pace to do a similar season last season as he did the year before with the regress touchdowns. he can be there. He can definitely be there. There's so many guys. Like, there's been no better time to punt the tight end and grab 2 or 3, like your last 2 or 3 picks, just tight end. And one of those guys is going to hit. You almost guarantee one of those guys is hit.
Speaking of tight ends, real quick, would you take Kelsey at the price?
Absolutely. I think there's still 2 or 3 years
Waller.
I think
we said we would take Waller at a wide receiver 5, but that's also more of if you got sniped, because like I'd rather take Evans or DJ Moore personally, but that's just how I would prefer to build. In that
if we're talking
situation.
Kelsey or Waller, I'm taking Kelsey.
Oh, me too.
He definitely doesn't have the guy like Devonte Adams in front of him. And not that I'm worried not that I'm worried that the pie can't be split like 120 plus targets apiece between Waller and Adams. I just think Travis Kelce's that guy who over the next couple seasons, or until this wide receiver position is figured out, I know a lot of people are buying this guy more, but he could still see 130 plus, 140, maybe even close to 150 targets a season, because he has the faith.
Juju next year. This year, Kelsey, I think next year it might be Juju.
If Juju proves it enough that you give him another contract, absolutely.
Yes.
There's no reason not to believe it. But like Sky Moore, yeah, he's great. I love Sky Moore. I just like there's no reason not to buy into Sky Moore a bit either. Like there's no reason not to buy into the receivers or the tight end apparently in this offense, because it's Patrick freaking Mahomes. Of course he's going to be fine. Of course he's going to sustain for you 2 receiving weapons. We just, at this point, it's Travis Kelce, and which wide receiver is he really going to sustain for you? He might even sustain them both.
That's another thing too, where I think it's going to be like where you get the Byron Pringle week, and then you get the Denard Robinson week, and then you get,
that's when Flash is there.
Yeah, then like, you know what I mean? Like you'll get the Flash week, you'll get the Mecole Hardman week, then you'll get the Juju week, then you'll get the Kelsey week, the Jeff Flash week, the Hardman week, the Juju.
He's good at spreading the ball. We saw it. We saw it with Robinson. We saw it with Pringle. We've seen it with Hardman. We've seen it with Tyreek Hill. You've played Tyreek Hill and got a dud. Because he dropped his week the week before when he dropped 30, 40 points. So, like, it. He spreads the ball well, but one of his constants is Travis Kelce. So I can definitely get behind that. Denver Broncos, man, I love Greg Dulcich. I can get behind Greg Dulcich. I don't know about Alberto anymore. That hype got out of control. I heard reports that he's going to
be fucking competing week 1.
Week 1, Greg Dulcich. But Dulcich is exclusively a receiving tight end, but that's what you want. We're talking fantasy. Alberto ain't getting points for pancaking people as a blocker. I think you want Greg Dulcich over Alberto at this point.
But do you want Dulcich over either one of the receivers?
No, see, that's where I'm convinced, like the tight end position, I don't know if either are going to be that relevant enough. But Dulcich, you're getting Dulcich, you're getting him as like your 3rd tight end, or you can slap him on the taxi squad for a year or 2, depending on how your taxi squad works. Like he's one of those guys you can wait and see. You can take that slow approach. Alberto, you're drafting him. I think Alberto's going around tight end 12. Like you're drafting him to step right into a role, and I'm not there. I'd rather Dulcich. Unless you grabbed Alberto off waivers or whatever, then whatever it is, what it is. Wait and see. You got to take the slow approach with him too.
Fair enough. So
I think that's it. Have we hit it all?
That's
it. We've hit it all.
Do you want to talk about Veridian real quick?
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for listening and supporting us. Rate, review, like, subscribe wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening. We appreciate the love. Shout out to Veridian Global, as always, an incredible sponsor of ours. Trophy Smack as well. Awesome sponsors. TNFF is the code to use. You get that free ring with the purchase of a trophy. I think I've seen a lot of emails flying around about they have draft boards and draft stuff out now. So definitely go check that stuff out on Trophy Smack, especially if you do like a fun home league where you want a draft board and stuff and you all gather for your drafts. Underdog Fantasy, who we always shout out at the top of the show. Of course, use that promo code TNFF. Get that match. It's almost football season. Go draft some best ball teams. You never know what's going to happen. Shout out to True North Fantasy Football crew above Jim's head, TrueNorthFFB.com, at True North FFB on Twitter, the TNFF Network over on YouTube, where you may be watching us right now. If not, if you are and you're not subscribed, hit subscribe. If you're not watching over on the YouTube channel, go hit subscribe and make sure you're always up to date on the shows from us and the fantasy tilt crew. Jim at Gold Jacket QBs, as always, myself at Connor 10. That's TEN, not the number. Next week, we have Mark Shue coming on. I do believe. I will verify that. He hosts an awesome reality fantasy football show program.
Inaugural champion right here, motherfuckers.
Make sure you go, you sign up. I think he's still accepting signups. Go make sure you sign up there. And Jim did it last season. He had a blast. We talked about it a lot. It sounded like a really good time. So make sure you go and check that out. And we're kicking it off in the NFC East next week. My hometown, baby, with the NFC.
Go from the NFC or the AFC best
to the NFC
least.
But wait, for fantasy, it's going to be a lot better than the least. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you all next Thursday.
This is a beginning point. This is the beginning of the rest of my life.